when I really dive into it, goes back to when I was a young girl. And I did not realize it until now how much my upbringing impacted the way that I viewed relationships. Both my parents were narcissists. I was never good enough. Straight A student, recognized locally, statewide, nationally for my leadership ability, but I was never good enough for my family. It was really hard with that programming, but it's what I knew. And I'm sure a lot of you can resonate with that too. So you learned really quickly how to walk on eggshells and tippy toe to make everybody else happy. I had been conditioned my whole life to be that way. And so guess what? When I got married early on, I thought that was normal. I thought that was love. I thought that was what the rest of my life would look like until 20 years later, 16 years in a marriage, 2 kids later, a dairy operation of my own, working full time on top of dairy farming, managing the farm. I don't know how I did it, but it still was never enough for my now ex husband. He was also a narcissist. He was just a different type of narcissist. I had police that believed the ex narcissist. And you know what? I got left homeless in front of my 2 children. I got beat up. I got woken up getting beat up from a dead sleep and blamed that it was my fault. And now today, being 2.5 years out of that situation, I went through the PTSD therapy, but it still wasn't enough to deal with the trauma that I went through. And so I was almost like on a wavelength of still thinking that trauma was part of my life. I lost my dad a year ago, and that was traumatic with the events with my whole family and resurrecting the not feeling good enough. But it put me into a tailspin, and it led me to a situation that it wasn't my fault. I went out and had a beverage. The bartender thought it was okay to lace my drink and rape me. I'm still in pain a year later, physically, from that. Nobody deserves that. I should be able to go out in a small town and have a beer, right? To celebrate my dad and not have that. So there's that trauma on top of it. But you know what the worst part is? I didn't know that guy. What my ex did to me was worse than what that rapist did to me. Emotionally, the long-term impact of it. None of us deserve any of this. I recognize this pattern and this cycle that I was in. I don't want it to continue to replay anymore. And I didn't know how to get myself out of it. But the tools that Stephanie and David gave me and the course, the Psych K session, especially that, whew, I'm thankful for you, David and Stephanie, and for everybody out there that has gone through this, because that is what really drew me to you guys. It was like, oh, sorry, the first time that I saw something on Facebook, it was just an ad, but I read a little bit about it, about what you had written there, and it pulled me in. It pulled me in because I was like, somebody gets it. And then I watched the video or something, and it was like, oh my gosh, you're speaking exactly how I feel. And I was really drawn. It was like, for the first time, somebody understands. And I just didn't feel so alone in that moment. Sorry. It's beautiful. These are beautiful tears, and I thank you for that. And then I talked to David, and it was just like I knew before I talked to you, David, I just had this tug. And then we talked about how it was my time to start transforming. We were meant to connect because you guys are there, and I was ready to start moving up a couple steps. I just didn't know how to. And it was the universe telling us we needed to connect, really, truly. And I will say it was that first Psych K session. To be honest with you, I felt it. I felt the energy. And like I was saying before, the bad movie of what had happened in my past is playing in the background, and I don't feel it. I didn't feel it anymore within seconds. It was incredible. And since then, it has just been a different perspective, different situations, the strength and the courage that I have that I didn't have before, because I'm able to really see things differently. When I did the Psych K session, it was miraculous. Like the next day I woke up and it was like shut off. I went for a walk that day at lunch and I was smiling. I was like, I'm smiling. And there's been little things here and there, just the strength in my ability to have boundaries and to communicate my boundaries with no fear. I love that. I feel like I'm getting my power back. So it's good. The playfulness, the happiness, the joy, the being able to just go, "Oh, I don't have to worry about that bad story anymore. That's just a bad story playing in the background." I can now look at life and go, I don't want that. Yes, I want that. No, thank you. I don't need to respond. Okay. Well, I see a lot of fun ahead. Honestly, lots of fun. And I'm really looking forward to the adventure of it. Truly feel comfortable in my own skin now, where I was really feeling like I needed to have a man to feel like I was whole. Now I don't need that. But what I'm planning on attracting now is someone who complements my life, and I'm going to do what I want to do when I want, with who I want, what I want, how I want, and have a blast. And if there is someone that comes into my life, they're going to have to fit with that or they just don't fit. I will say one thing that's really interesting to my kids and their teenagers is I have more headspace to organize. I've organized almost the entire house without any anxiety or hesitation. We're just laughing a lot more. The first day or two before I even talked to David, I was hesitant, but I was just like, you know what? If there's a possibility that I can have better, even though I don't know what that looks like right now, I don't want to keep living like this. I want to feel good. I want to feel better. And so that's why I really, and because I didn't feel alone anymore, that's why I took the leap and joined with you guys. And it's worth it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I even fought it once I got in. I literally did. And I'm gonna be honest because I was fighting everything just because where my headspace was. But once I opened up my mind and my heart and just I followed the process, got to my Psych K session and just said to myself, I'm going to be open. I'm going to be willing to do this. I'm going to let David lead me because he and Stephanie both want good for me and I can see it and feel it. And so I'm going to submit and I'm just going to go along with this because what else do I have to lose if it means that there could be possible happiness on the other side? And don't get me wrong, there's still work on this side, but it's so much easier. And so I would just say, you're worth it. Your future's worth it. You deserve to be happy. And I'm just so excited just to know, to look ahead and go, I get to create my life. And I'm hoping that I can bring some of that hope. This is real. And I say just open up your mind and your heart and lean on Stephanie and David because this is pretty awesome. All I can say is you're worth it.